Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back for another recording session of Hearthstone. Let's see, what are we doing? Yeah, let's double check my audio first. We've got 3 quests here. Win 2 games with the rogue. No, that's good. I'm moving furniture around right now, so not actually right now, but I've gotten out of the chair, the office chair I was testing, and now I'm sitting in what could possibly be described as the cheapest recliner chair you could possibly ever make. It's almost like a recliner for a little kid. It's about, I'd say, 9 inches too low to the ground. So even a desk or table will be way too high for it. It comes apart in 2 pieces, which is kind of familiar these days, but it used to not be the case. Let's see, Druid and Rogue, I guess is all we're gonna do. Do we have a no tavern brawl? Back in less than an hour. Come on. Wow. I should have waited an hour. Well, fine. We'll deal with those later, I hope. Let's just focus right now on Druid and Rogue victories. And hop into a game. We're sitting here talking. Oh, the rank ended too, so we have to play ranked. Good. So, I just couldn't take it anymore as far as the office chair. You get like an hour of sitting in it, and all the cushioning was just gone completely flat. I don't know why, but it had. And so I'd like try to throw a pillow on top of the cushioning to sit on that. The pillow goes flat. Now, I guess I don't know why. It's probably an inaccurate action. If you hear that creaking now, that's the recliner, and that I probably shouldn't do that. I always wonder about sounds, whether people hear the sounds I'm making or not, as far as tables creaking and recliners creaking, or how well or good this microphone really is that I'm using. It shouldn't. It's better than what I thought it was gonna be, or has really any right to be. But that doesn't immediately mean that it's perfect and it's gonna eliminate all noise everywhere. So in no way would I keep this recliner here that I'm sitting in now. Well, I might keep it in here for a long time actually, but I don't want to. This recliner was one I purchased when I first bought my first house, and it was just a cheap piece of junk that was the kind of furniture you would get when you are a first time homeowner that's just trying to have some place to sit. So it's effectively something you might put in a college dorm too, if you were even gonna do that much in a college dorm. And a lot of times in the dorms they're specifically designed to cram you in there like sardines so you don't have room for anything. So it's ugly. It's not anything I would want to keep or use for a long time. But that being said, it is a recliner, so it actually has springs and cushioning. At least I hope it does. That is my goal. And to test this out now and see if it's any better. At the end of the day, it feels very much like we may just end up going back to what I was doing before, which was sitting on the bed, because the bed obviously has the most cushioning of the things I have. Ideally, what I want to do is just get a DX Racer recliner chair and hope, but against all hope, that thing is cushioned for some long term sitting. right now on the recliner, as I keep talking about this, and I'm sure nobody's really that interested, there's no place really to put the mouse. So I've got the mouse halfway, my mouse pad halfway on my knee, halfway on the arm of the chair. There's no place whatsoever to put the keyboard. I have my Xbox 360 controller sitting here precariously on the edge, which is something I shouldn't do, because if that thing falls over, it rips out the microphone, and that's not something we want to have happen. And then, before I even started this morning, the month has gone by and we've done the Windows updates and everything, and in that process somehow it turned off the network visibility for the internal network, NetBIOS I believe is what it used to be called, at least. So that's when you browse my network and you can see all the other computers that have shared folders and files. All that was just disabled by default. And oddly enough, the OBS remote program that I use on my phone to watch what OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, is doing, so I know if something has gone terrible or not as far as the recording, couldn't connect because that was turned off. And then once I did that, I needed to change all the passwords and change the password, disable the password, re-enable the password with the new password stuff, because apparently that software is not that well programmed. And with all of that said and done, it caused a lot of extra work I didn't want to do. Speaking of extra work I didn't want to do, we are getting somewhat close now. Not really close, still several months away, but I was thinking about doing the taxes, US taxes, which for me will be very simple, but it's still probably going to be a day, if not a week, in which I just won't get any recordings done at all. Now, I am far enough ahead now that that's not a real big issue, but it is irritating. It is definitely irritating to have to take off days to do taxes.
Snakes. It has to be.
But I'll deal with that later. I'm just venting, I suppose. Hopefully, one can hope that next year my taxes would be a lot more complicated because I'd have a lot more income and there would be more things to do. This year it's going to be, for 2015, it's going to be so simple. It's going to say, well, you made less than $50 in income for the entire year, and so you don't owe any taxes because you're in the poverty level by far, which is not where you want to be in life.
For the wilds. Job done.
So that kind of sucks, and it will certainly be a difference than the way I used to do my taxes when I wasn't working as a YouTuber, because then there was actual income and actual things that you had to fill out, and deductions you had to calculate and such if you wanted to not overpay. I actually kind of love doing taxes. I'm weird like that. Because I look at it as what it really is. It's the US tax system is a game. It is designed to be complicated by lobbyists of tax preparation software and accountants. And so they keep it complicated and silly that way, where it could just be a simple thing. Of course, anytime a politician in the United States says we'll simplify the taxes and we'll give you a base rate, what that really means is that they'll get rid of all the tricks and avenues you can do in taxes so that the smarter people that actually learn it and do it, would suffer more by that system.
It has to be snakes.
A flat tax won't benefit anybody except for people that are paying more than the flat taxes, which is basically the richest of the rich of the rich. And I'm sure they'll still lobby and get tricks played, or they'll just straight up lie. Let's see, silence a minion.
I must safeguard the land.
Is this a beast? No, don't it. How about if I did this for 1 and this for 3? No, that's not quite gonna get it.
For the wild.
In the turn. It certainly does feel different sitting in this chair. To get back to that conversation, I feel like I am about a foot further back. It is an actual recliner, so I am actually reclining. That might be why my back was hurting so much on the office chair too, is that it's just set in such a way to sit up straight. Whereas for me, perhaps it is better that I would actually recline a little bit. I just may not be built to handle sitting at a straight 90-degree angle. That was a good victory, I'm glad for that. Of course, at level 23, you're playing against about the worst of the worst as you can play. Let's just keep with the druid, I guess. So remember, when we get to the wild and standard play, there are going to be 2 ranked. So start the timer now. We've been going for 12 minutes and 51 seconds. That's what the OBS remote helps me with, and how I can tell you exactly how long we've been recording, which I shouldn't say that because I've slightly expanded into editing out videos. I probably would never do it to Hearthstone, but I've been having so much trouble with the Lego Batman series of them claiming almost every single video that
Job's done.
I've been for a while using YouTube's automatically remove that song ability, which works sometimes, but I've realized now that they also have the ability just to cut scenes out if they can't take the song out.
I can taste
So-
the mana.
So instead of having videos in my series unadulterated, which you would think would be the right thing to do, and then giving all that ad revenue to somebody who doesn't deserve it, which is absolutely not the right thing to do. I'm now leaning towards, after it originally airs, just cutting it out and getting any ad revenue. I'm working off the theory that my channel, at a point in the future, as we're approaching 85,000 total views, I think at a point in the future it is going to start getting a lot of people to go back and watch the old videos. I'm hoping that. Otherwise, the old videos are pointless and worthless, which is typically what you hear from YouTubers, is that it's the first 24 hours of something that they get all their views. And I'm hoping that changes. If that doesn't change, then it just leaves me like every other YouTuber who's gonna chase the next big thing, cover the newest games, and that's it. And if it gets to that point, I mean, eventually we have to get to that point anyways. Eventually, the retrospectives that I'm filling my channel with are just gonna go away. We'll run out of games worth playing. But
Bathe in flame.
I bet he
Job's done.
will be able to destroy this.
Time runs out on me.
Well, he's not playing, never mind. Let's just go ahead and try to move as fast as possible before it disconnects. I thought I was having some network trouble,
Bathe in flame.
but I'm not sure if I actually was. So I did reset my router, but seems like everything's working now. Seems like somehow I had a couple of network errors all combined at the same time.
For the wild.
Let's see. This next one should get us 10, 14, plus that.
Well played.
Why is he telling me well played? He's not even playing. Well played, I do this. Is this some I'm going to not even play till my 5th turn stuff?
I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry for nothing. Here. All you have to do is lose. Well, if that was bravado and not just them not paying attention for a very long time, that cost them dearly. Look at this. Looks like we're gonna maybe pull this off in 2 recordings. So I'm up to Sam and Max season 3, episode 5 now. This is definitely the first time I've ever played season 3. Now I recognize this, and I would have probably been a little bit more into playing season 1 and season 2 if I had known there was actual new content in there that I hadn't touched. Season 3 almost guarantees that there would never be a season 4, because it just, I mean, you're fighting a Cthulhu-esque monster in season 3. You were fighting the devil in season 2. I tried to explain it, and I got into the whole DC Marvel talk again when I said at this point the only thing more powerful that you could think of to make would be something like Thanos or Galactus or Darkseid. Something that would destroy the entire universe instead of destroy the entire planet. And arguably, a lot of people would say the devil is more powerful than even a Cthulhu monster. But so I don't know how you go any crazier with it. They've gone pretty crazy already. What do we want to do? Let's do this.
For the wild.
It feels like Sam and Max Season 3 too was the beginning of them working on their modern Telltale engine, which is, in a lot of ways, makes me think that they have stopped any work on the old point-and-click engine part of that.
I don't have enough mana.
So
Job's done.
So I don't know if Telltale Games if they were gonna make a point and click 2D, 2.5D adventure game, I don't know if their engine could handle it. In fact, I'm kind of thinking they couldn't, because what did we see in season 2 of Sam & Max? The game just wouldn't even run properly on modern Windows. And as soon as they upgraded it so that it would run, they introduced the 3 necessary the 3 necessary, the 3D elements to the game. Let's go ahead and kill that.
Job's done.
And so it certainly just feels very strange. We're using the Devil's toys throughout all of season 3, and that's not really Sam & Max, because now you have 2 inventories, and one of the inventories is giving you abilities that you really shouldn't have in point-and-click adventure games, such as being able to see the future. And they play with this being able to see the future in several occasions, which would be a cool concept by itself, but then you also have mind reading, teleportation, astral projection for 1 second. Here we go.
For a loon.
For the wild.
On top of your regular inventory where you pick up items. And then the way you pick dialogue is it's so designed for a control stick that it's obvious that's what they were going for. And then on top of that you have
For a loon.
let's see, what do we want to do? Choose a minion, give it attack. Choose a minion, summon a panther. Let's start with this. And then do we summon a 3-2 or give a 1-1? Wouldn't that be a 3-3 here? We did this.
Job's done.
Oh no. I wasted that, didn't I?
Time waits for no one.
Maybe I didn't waste it. I don't know. Maybe that's a permanent. +1/+1 to all minions. Never used it that way.
For the wild. Job's done.
So, yeah. As we're getting towards the end of Sam & Max, it's starting to feel like Sam & Max again, but it's probably going to be too little too late. It's just too much going on there. Did a little bit of scheduling and uploading. Turns out that there is, at least now, it could have been actually for a long time. In fact, I vaguely recall that it was here. If you choose the category of your video, which mine by default is gaming, if you choose gaming, you get a subcategory for the game title because of youtube.gaming.com or gaming.youtube.com, whatever it is. That thing that they sort of pretended like they were gonna do something about and then didn't support that much, and it's really just a front end for YouTube. Well, yeah, that thing. If you put a game title in it, people can search for specific games a little bit easier to find it. it's just another bit of metadata, but it's probably a good piece of metadata to fill in. By default, it tries to fill it in by itself, but it doesn't always work. And so, it would be so nice if I could take like a playlist of all my videos. Or, I mean, I don't even have to take a playlist. I can just search all my Hearthstone videos, select everything with Hearthstone in the name, and then put in the bulk actions that it is Hearthstone. That would be so nice if that bulk action existed, and it just doesn't exist. You can change the category. Yeah, you can change the category all day and night to gaming, but there's no subcategory for a game name, and there's no separate option for a game name. So without a third-party plugin, which there's no reason why I should have to
Protect the wild.
find some third-party plugin to do anything in the YouTube video manager. That thing's a nightmare and needs to be fixed. Not have other people fix it for you. And so like I reported it as a bug, and we'll see what happens there. And I'll tell you what happens there. Nothing. It's YouTube. Nothing ever happens. Things do happen. That's not true. YouTube tries to fix things. They just, I think there's like 20 people working there is my guess. 20 people, and maybe half of them were lawyers and half of them were just like advertisers. I don't know. I don't know how many actual programmers and developers or people that care. I don't know if any of them care.
Job's done.
Probably not. So, people are still complaining about the where's the fair use stuff and content IDs. Heard an interesting suggestion as a solution to it is if somebody claims content ID on there and then somebody disputed it as fair use, then what if a random sampling of
Job's done.
the people, like 10% of the people who watch that video, are asked, is this section in the middle fair use? And then it became kind of this random democracy, not full democracy, but just a I don't know what you call it. Electoral. It's probably an electoral system of some sort. It's an interesting thought, because what you would have to do is when somebody claims something and they want it taken down, it would be taken down immediately. Still, that's the way it works now, until somebody disputes it. And then, if you were going to let somebody, if the person disputed it as fair use, it would immediately, once it's disputed anyways, it would go back up. So from that point, you would have to.
Where shall I strike?
Job's done.
It would go back up, and then every 10th person to get that 10%, or randomly in there, it would ask people if this is fair use or not, and you'd get votes. Now, almost certainly this could be played, because it would be in the best interest of anybody who is a viewer of that video to say yes, even if it's not fair use. I think inherently that's where the problem probably falls apart. Is even if it's not fair use, even if I'm going to see a video that's just a full-on theft of somebody else's work, I still want to see that video on YouTube, and I still want to see that video for free. So inherently, yes, I would say yes, this full this full upload of a movie is fair use, even though there's nobody talking or commenting on it, and it's just a playback of the movie. Or it could be gamed the opposite way, a little bit more difficultly. By I'm gonna lose this one. By the person who claimed it was infringing to turn around and watch the video over and over again until he got asked if it was fair use, and then it would then say no. So I think that immediately just gets back into the problem, although it kind of scoots the problem down the road a little bit longer, if you think about it. Because then YouTube could say, well, our users tell us it's fair use. What do we want us to do? File a real DMCA, follow the legal procedure if you want to do that. Which is inherently what, here I go saying inherently all the time again. But that's what YouTube needs to do, is it needs to kick people out of the content ID system and make it so unfair for the actual owners of copyright that they actually do file DMCAs if they're really upset about it. Because right now it's the exact opposite of that. It's so unfair to the content creators and people making YouTube videos that it's driving those people away when it needs to be actually driving away the people who are abusing content ID. Because at the end of the day, WMG is not going to file DMCA against me. Well, I hope they don't, but I'm pretty sure they're not. They're not going to waste their lawyers' time, waste their things for a video that is potentially never going to get more than 5 views. It's just not going to happen. Not when there's millions and millions of other people on the videos who are getting way more views. So as long as I'm a small-time person, I'm fine. And then hopefully if I ever become a big-time person that's getting millions and millions of views on something, if somebody wants to file the DMCA strike against them, I can say, fine, sue me, I'll buy a lawyer. Hopefully at that point I would either get some protection from YouTube because there was some new content fair use protection program that included everybody, or I could just afford a lawyer myself and do that. So yeah, the 10% of people confirming fair use is fine. Arguably, I think that what the precedents of laws and some of the tricks of legal proceedings have done have really got the concept legally of fair use away from what the average person thinks it is. And like there's this copyright lawyer going on Reddit, and he was saying basically everybody thinks fair use is fair use and almost none of it is. Let's see. And frankly, there's not a lot of precedents for video games in particular. I think in all actuality, if I was making a channel where I was either singing all of a song and doing a performance, that probably wouldn't fall under fair use. If I was reading all of a book, that probably wouldn't fall under fair use, even if I'm throwing commentary into it. Well, that's an interesting thing, because I bet there are people who've read like the copyrighted King James version or other copyrighted versions of the Bible, put their commentary on it, and if they go through all of the Bible, or even a significant portion of it, that would be an interesting case to say, whether that was fair use or not. But all of a song, all of a book, all of a movie, there's a different situation there slightly than what a video game is, because a video game in its core is a system for me to create my own experience that is way more unique than even a choose your own story book could be. And that's about the closest equivalent. Every action I take here is my own action in a video game. Do I push the mouse up? Do I push the mouse down? Do I click on this guy? Do I click on that guy? Over and over again. In every second, there is a decision I am making and something I'm changing here. And in video games, the only time that's not really the case is when the game takes complete control away from you and shows you a cutscene. And the cutscenes are so few and far between in most games that it's not even a significant portion of it. So when you factor all of that together, there we go, I'll just win now. When you factor all that together, you are creating your own unique art in playing a video game a lot more, or your own unique experience a lot more than you would be trying to cover or review a book, a piece of music, a movie, a TV show, anything like that that is from the beginning to end created and just handed to you, and you cannot really interact with it. Like I said, the only thing I can think of that's even close to a video game is the choose your own adventure thing. Now, reviewing a board game might be an interesting thing because the interactions might be more limited within rules, but I still think in the end you're creating such a unique experience for yourself that it's more your actions of your creating than anything.
Job's done.
And I don't know if it would particularly fly if when people say, did you program it so that it will always give you the wrath card? And the programmer would have to say, no, but I made a system where they made a system where it would randomly at times give you the wrath card. Or that's not even a good example. A better question would be, did you program it so the player had to click anodized Robocub here and choose +1 attack? They'd say, no, I didn't program it so the player had to do that. So it was the player that created this experience, the experience of playing this card. Yes, I mean, I could just see the line of questioning that a lawyer could go into a programmer for, and maybe in the end this might even all be mute. It may just be enough money that you lobby to and enough friends you have in the judicial system, or finding the right judge that you know is going to side with you, and any legitimate arguments may just be thrown out of the window.
Another night on the prowl.
That's the problem with not just the United States copyright system, but a lot of systems. There is simply a corruption there that does not follow logic or logical arguments because they have vested interests, hidden or not. So we got back on that again. Seems like I can't avoid it. I'm glad though I'm not doing like a where's the fair use thing. Some people are not supporting it for about the dumbest reasons ever. One person I saw said, well, I'm not supporting it because the only thing that would really help it is if everybody boycotted YouTube. And I'm like, okay, fine. I agree with that. If everybody boycotted YouTube and nobody went to it anymore, YouTube would get the message. But where do we go? Where's that other place to go to? It doesn't exist. Twitch has already kicked out everybody except for gamers. So that doesn't work. And then Twitch is wrought with copyright infringement. When at this point, I think you can pretty much say if Twitch plays Pokemon or something like that is not a unique experience that the person who is hosting that video is creating. It just isn't. It may be a unique experience that is being created
I must
between the...
safeguard the land.
Let's see, which one do I want? I'm just gonna do 2 damage. Let's see. Between the players and the video game, but it not really. And so when something like Twitch Plays Pokemon comes out, I don't see the argument that you aren't potentially losing sales there. I don't think if there's 1,000 people watching Twitch Plays Pokemon and interacting with it and having at least some level of control of that game, that they are doing that instead of playing it. Although the old Pokemon games, I don't know if you would have. But as they're moving up on Twitch Plays Pokemon to newer and newer versions, the argument gets weaker and weaker. And then when you have Twitch watches Pokemon and it's just the Pokemon movies playing, that's just blatant. I mean, indefensible. I can try to stretch as much as I can, but I cannot.
For the wild.
There's no way you can defend just streaming a video that you didn't create, which again is not even what's supposed to be allowed on Twitch, and yet that's the 4th most watched thing. Now, what I will say about Twitch as somebody who doesn't stream on Twitch, the bigger problem, the more consistent problem than content ID things missing, not content ID not existing on it, and people blatantly stealing copyrighted stuff for without adding any commentary or doing anything with it. The most blatant one and the most common one of that, of course, is people just playing music in the background and or playing music directly on their stream, so they're intentionally doing it. That needs to stop. If Twitch is gonna maintain any legitimacy, it's gotta stop letting them do that. In-game music is one thing, but if you're playing one game and you're playing a different music, this isn't a artistic mix match of two things. This isn't Dark Side of the Moon, where they put the Wizard of Oz and the Dark Side of the Moon together. What is that? I don't even know. It's just blatant playing thing. But the problem, besides copyright on Twitch, the real problem is that Twitch is just full of garbage video. It really is. Every time I check it, there's like probably hundreds, if not a couple thousand people streaming. I would say at least 80, if not 90 to 95% of the people have 1 to 4 people watching at most. And they're just streaming and they're talking to the chat and they're usually cussing and just saying stupid things. And it's just this internet forums garbage that's not really worth anything. There's no intellectual discussion usually going on. It's just not good quality content. It really isn't. And then you have problems with women getting on there and trying to just play and then getting harassed, which is somewhat true. But guys get harassed on Twitch too, but women seem to take it as a sexism thing when it may not even be. It's probably just there's too many immature people on Twitch, which absolutely is true. And then that only gets made worse, though, for the women when there are other women on there and they've got cameras just going right down their cleavage, and they're just sitting there flirting with the audience and doing cam girl stuff, which is not what Twitch is for either. In fact, there are cam girl sites all over the internet, so I don't even know why they're getting any viewership there at all. Why is it not? I guess these immature people, I'd say, on Twitch, again, don't even know that, oh yeah, there are porn sites, so if you want to just go look at porn, just go look at porn and you can find it. Well, that's an interesting way to end this recording, and that's what we're going to do. Again, I think we're going to be fine. The Tavern Brawl's back, so we'll finish that. I did not know. Proof evident that you can play the Tavern Brawl and it will get updated while you're playing. I didn't realize that. Usually I thought you had to update, exit out, and get the next version. So we just need to play 30 more minions that cost 2. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.